Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com, and we are here today for a new session in our Fall 2014 Financial Automation Webcast Series. Today we are joined once again by Kay Wilmoth, Senior Consultant at Columbus, who will be showing us how to once again get a jump start on more year-end processes for Dynamics GP. She joined us earlier this week for a great session, and that's on demand now. Please know that we do invite you in the audience to add your feedback and ask questions today during Kay's presentation. I'd also, as we get started, just like to recognize our Financial Automation Webcast Series sponsors and thank them for their support. They are Avalara, Bottom Line Technologies, Metafile, Perceptive Software, and Retalk. So without further delay, Kay, let me hand it off to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. So today's session, like Jason said, we're going to go over the year-end review for payroll. So that way everybody, especially for the new attendees, if this is the first time you've gone through your year-end process, this will be a really good start for you to be able to do year-end. And for those that you've done it multiple years, then this is a good review for you as well. So like Jason pointed out, we have a Q&A, so everyone is muted. You just put your questions in there, and I'll try to answer them as we're going along. So our first question's already in there, Jason, about the PowerPoint will be available afterwards, and yes, I will have that emailed to Jason, so Jason, you can put that out for them, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, so let's take off. So the first thing we're going to talk, so I am going to be doing some PowerPoint, and then I'm going to be jumping on this system to show you things so that it's not just a complete PowerPoint too. So today we're going to be going over the year-end for payroll. We're going to go over some tips and tricks, and then we're going to actually go through the year-end process so that you can see it. So our famous suggested order of close from Microsoft Dynamics GP, these are all the modules that are in there in the order that they suggest that they be closed. Payroll, if you notice, is at the bottom and it's completely independent. The only thing that I always make sure people know is payroll for the end of the year needs to be processed and it needs to be posted before anyone does the general ledger, because we don't want them to close up the general ledger before payroll's all the way processed. Here is the link. We did the link before in previous sessions, and we found out if you took and did a print screen, or if you did the snippet tool and captured that in Word, you'd be able to just put that into Word and click on the link, and it would actually take you right to that KB article. These are from Microsoft Dynamics, and they actually go through, and I've actually got some of the article in a PowerPoint slide today, so we're going to be going over that. But it's good for you to have reference so that you can go through. When you're ready to do your year-end, you'll have that checklist right beside you. So some of the tips and tricks for the year-end that we're going to go over is make sure, again, every batch needs to be posted and it needs to be closed. And you really need to run a backup. And the GP suggests that you do a backup after closing each module, and that is definitely understandable. If some companies choose not to do that, and if you don't do that, I do suggest that before you do your payroll year-end, you definitely need to have a backup. It's also a good suggestion to have a test company and restore that backup into that company. Number one, you could run your year-end process through there before you do it in your live. And then also you can make sure that that backup is a good backup that you would be able to restore if you needed it. Also for year-end, we definitely got to be careful with year-end updates. We got to make sure that everything that you have on your system is compatible for all the year-end updates. So if you had third-party products onto your system, then you want to definitely check with that third-party company and make sure that they're compatible with any year-end updates that GP has already processed. So if you guys know, GP has put out the year-end updates for 2014, so just make sure if you have that third party, you check and make sure they're compatible with it. So year-end updates are in Customer Source, so if you're connected to that, you'll be able to go out and see that those, and they do announce them in the Customer Source. And the last thing is you got to remember that we have the tax updates. So the year-end updates and tax updates. The tax updates need to be applied after you do that last payroll run, but you got to do it before. So after that's been run and it's been posted, then you want to bring in the new tax tables, and you need to do that before you run your new year of payroll. So the year end, here's a couple slides, and this is where I'm going to switch real quick. And I'm going to switch to my desktop so that you can see that. So I'm in Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013, which is the latest, greatest in here right now, except although 2015 was just released, so I guess I have to say it's the latest of 2013. So I'm on HR and Payroll on the area page over on the left-hand side. And under Routines, we have the year-end closing. So this window comes up, and it's telling you create your year-end wage file for the year of 2017 because I'm in a sample company and it is that year. And then I can click on the Process button. And I've already done this once, so I'm not going to do it a second time. But we just go through the Process button. It goes through, grabs all the information from all the employee records, all the W-2 information that it needs, and it creates a year-end wage file, which that's the next step here, the year-end wage file report. So if we pull that up, if you notice my 2017 is in there because I did that first step of processing it. So now you get reports, and the order, you can do a drop down, and you can see that there's actually different orders that you can have. So if it's employee ID or name, department name, Social Security. So you just have to choose which one of those. I'm going to leave my employee marked as all, and then I'm going to just go up and tell it to print. And I'm going to tell it to come to the screen so you guys can see it. So here's my year-end wage report. This is going to be on every employee that I have. And again, this is a sample company. This is all their information. So this is a really good way to look over and make sure everything is correct on there. If there's something that isn't, this is your chance that you can go in and edit the W-2s and get anything information that is correct. So if you notice, I have 45 pages. Not too big for my year end. So the next step, if you needed to, is you would go down to the Edit W-2s. This brings open, and it tells you the year. So I'm going into 2017, and then what employee am I going to bring in? So here's my famous Yearend guy who I use all the time in my sample company. Here's his address. So maybe he found out his address changed. You can automatically change it here. So that prints correctly on the W-2. But then if you change any information here, like especially like the address, then you want to go back to the employee record and change it there too, so that it will be updated for next year. So don't forget that part. Over here on the right-hand side, you have the wages and all the information that's going to go on the W-2. You also have buttons at the bottom. So we have special is in here. I don't have that one. And then other. So if you have any of this information, like your box 14, so you would be able to see that. So here's your state and local too, so you can check that information too. And then there's local. So Jason, just to remind you, when I'm sharing, I don't see the questions. So if there's any, I'm sure you just let me know, okay?
Sure, we do have one question here.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you do if a pay period goes across calendar years?
Okay, so IRS recognizes whatever the check date is. So if you are running it for 2014, but the check date is for 2015, then you're going to accrue that payroll in 2014 because IRS only looks at the check date. So
okay.
before so before you run that one, because the check date's going to be 2015, you do want to do your year end. Do you want to do your year end process before that one?
Okay, that is the only question we have in the queue right now, but everyone else, please do use that Q&A block on the right to enter your questions.
Great. So then the next step, if you notice, this is kind of nice because the routines are right in order, then you can go print your W-2s. So in here, you just have to start making the choices that you need. Pulls in the company information, the address, employee, federal ID. So this is all information that you want to check in here. And then you want to be able to print a validation report, forms alignment, not used too much anymore, but it's there. And then you have a W-2 form and a W-3 transmittal form. So if I wanted to go through and I just want to print my W-2s, I can go ahead and say this, and then I can say to start, this is where if your company has a control number, it needs to go in here. Some companies don't have that, some do. So if you have one, you need to put that in. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and print this to the screen just so everybody can see them. So, of course, we're going to load the form in, and then this would be all in appropriate boxes. When you're done with that, usually what people do is then they would do that W-3 transmittal form next, and again, they would just go in and put the print button, and then I'll just go ahead and print that to the screen. And then that's the transmittal form. So some people have electronic filing, so that would be the next steps in here. If you do have, if you have any 1099-Rs, they would be in this area as well. So again, just like the W-2s, the 1099-Rs would come in here. Not for sure if my sample company has any. Nope, we don't have any set up as a 1099, but all this information could be verified and edited. And then you, same as the W-2s, you would go in and print your 1099-Rs. So it kind of is the same process, form, and then a transmittal form. So then the next thing, if you are the W-2 electronic filing, you got to make sure that that is all set up. And you got to make sure that this is registered, and it gives you that little note. It's not a warning. It doesn't stop you. It's just telling you that you got to make sure that you're set up with the Social Security Administration for electronic W-2 filing. So, and it even gives you the website. So if you're not signed up and you want to be, then you can go to this website, and then that'll tell you the instructions on how to get set up. And I'm just going to say okay to that. Yes.
We did have another question come in about the, I think it's the employee number.
Okay.
Can the employee number be a sequence number? And I apologize for getting the terminology wrong. There was some abbreviations in this question.
Employee numbers can be sequential if that's the way you set up the employee IDs to begin with. Some set the employee ID as a certain number and it just tell it to be the next number. Is that what? Can you, if the person who asked, if you want to type in, is that what you're looking for?
And this person responded on that no, it's related to printing W-2s.
So let's go back real quick to the print of the W-2s. Are they wanting to print in that order? Is that what they're wanting to do?
I'm going to have to ask the person to please kind of rephrase it in a full question, in a fully written question, if they want want to offer more clarification for it.
Because see here in the order, I have employee ID. So if it will put if it's a numeric or even if it's alphanumeric, it puts it in the alphanumeric order, or it goes by the employee ID if it's all numeric. That would put that in the sequential number because that's the order I chose. The other options are by name, department name, and employee Social Security. You are limited to those options to print your W-2s. Okay, so let's go back to electronic filing. If you noticed, I am set up for, I have my file in here. I have a file path where it's going to go. If I'm needing to put in a user ID number, that would need to go in here. I have to mark my file. And then I would go in and I would tell it to create the file. I'm getting a little message here. If I press on that, then see all this information is in here. So it's another thing that you can check out and make sure is correct. That's just a little indicator there to tell you because I marked that company. And then I'd go through and tell it to create the file. What am I missing here? Saying I'm missing a required field. I don't know if that path, let me see if I can change that path. There we go. I think that'll do it. Let me take that out. I am not, oh, let me look at my submitter. Maybe I'm missing a required field in here. Yep, I don't have an email, so it's warning you. So if you do forget something, it's sure going to tell you, and you got to go find it. So then I'm going to say OK on that. Now I should be able to create my file. And I took my PIN number out before closing the date. Put that back in there. So wherever that path is, that's where it's going to be filed, and that is the file that you'll upload once you get all registered with the Social Security Department. It goes through all the instructions of how to get set up, where to file, and all of that. So that's where you go for that. We can look at this report if you want real quick here and put that on the screen as well. So this is telling me all the information, the submitter, the contact, and again, it's the sample company. But it kind of gives you the transmittal page right there, the different states, everything is like right on this report. I'm going to close out of there. Anybody have any questions so far?
We have a couple of more questions. So actually to kind of revisit the previous question, I think the way it was restated was, can the control number be the employee number?
The control number is what goes on the W-2 in the specific box.
Okay.
Is that what they're? Okay.
Well, I think he was referring to the starting control number. Can that be the employee number?
Yeah, that whatever you put that in that sequence. I'm sorry, that's what you're talking about. Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm interpreting it as best I can here.
Okay, great.
And then we do have another question. Will GP Payroll ever set up the W-2 printing to include the form setup so that W-2s can be printed on blank forms like 4UPs to allow for better alignment of information?
I would have to say that I doubt that very much that GP will do that because keeping up with that with the IRS and it changing, then they would have to maintain that inside of GP, and I don't think they want that liability of that. So GP, Microsoft has, the connections, as I call them, with the IRS. So if there's any changes to the forms, the layout will be changed within GP. But I've been doing this since version 4 in 1996, 97. So I've never seen them bring the W-2 form in yet.
All right. The only other question right now is, I think, a request. Maybe you can get to this at the end of the end of your presentation on the link that you showed earlier for year-end guidelines that you linked to earlier.
Oh, you mean my
request to see that again?
Oh, sure, no problem. We can throw that back up. As soon as I switch over to that back to my PowerPoint, I'll bring that up real quick for you.
All right. Well, that's all the questions for now.
Okay, so we've kind of gone through all of the year-end just to know where your year-end tax updates would be. Is you do go to Microsoft Dynamics and you go under maintenance, and you go under U.S. payroll updates, and you tell it to check for tax updates. So the easiest way is to do this automatic. So when you mark automatic, what it does, and you click the next button, then it comes up and you have an authorization number. So when you are with Microsoft Dynamics GP, you have registered your company and your registered main company number. And that company number is what you need, that you've registered with GP with, is the number that you have to put in here. And then you click on login. It takes you, it takes you out to the website and automatically does the upload for you into there. That is the most easiest way. If you don't know your authorization number, you can always check with your partner, and your partner can go look for you of what you are registered. You can also look for that when you go under customer source. You should be able to see what your registered number is as well. So let's switch back. If you want to do it manual, then you would have to actually go out to the website at some point and be able to pull up, pull the download for the tax updates, put that in a folder, and then you would go through the manual process. And basically through the manual process is you're going to go wherever you were at the time that you were connected to the internet, where did you put that file, and then you would go through the process. So that's the difference between the two. So let's switch back real quick now, and let me go ahead and back up and put that KB article back up real quick for them. So there is the article. If you want to do a print screen or a snippet or whatever tools you want to use to copy that and paste it into Word, that way you can save it. Or if you need to jot it down, you can do that too. So we'll pause just a second for that, and then we'll continue on. I have the year-end checklist, so we'll kind of go over, because I know that there are times that people have year-end, and of course, it doesn't give you much time when you create that year-end wage file versus the next time that you've got to do payroll. Especially if you're a weekly payroll, that doesn't give you much time to look over. If you have a large amount of employees that you want to look those over before you submit them. So I'm going to kind of go over that, what you can do in order to get around, because you get that, you can't have that year-end wage file out there. So let's go ahead now, and I'm going to go switch over to that. So here's the year-end payroll, and we kind of just went through every one of these different steps. There's some things in here too that are optional, so you want to definitely, that KB article, this is where this comes from. So you definitely want to look at those and make decisions on some of these that are optional, whether your company wants to do them or not. If your physical periods haven't been set up for 2015 yet, you want to make sure that you do that, and we'll go over that in a second too. So this is, there's two, in the KB article on GP for payroll, this is the first way. So this is what you kind of do. This is your normal steps. The second part is an alternative payroll year-end checklist. And what this does, this gives you the right to be able to process that next payroll. So if you notice, it's the first thing they say. If you must process 2015 payroll run before you complete the 2014 year-end closing procedures, then here's the steps that you need to take. And the biggest difference between the two is in the first one, you are actually printing the W-2s, making sure they're right, you're submitting those. In this one, you're creating the year-end wage file, but it's not necessarily that you're getting to the point where you have to, that you're ready to print them. So that's the big difference. You have to have 2015 set up. And then the main thing, to be able to process the 2015 pay runs, even and I know that question came up earlier too, is that we would be looking, the system looks at your date. So if you, in order to process a check run with a check date of 2015, your system date has to be 2015. It cannot still be in the prior year. If you have it in the prior year end, it's going to tell you that you can't process payroll until the year-end wage file is completed. And you have to, so we've gotten to the point where we've created it. We're going to go back into the live system, and I'll show you how to remove it when you're done. but I just kind of wanted to go through those steps. So I kind of stopped where I stopped at, even though I submitted and transmitted them. I still haven't removed that file. So until I remove that file, I can't do anything in the year of 2014. Even if I wanted to put in transactions that I'm going to accrue and have the check date, I can't do that at that point. So you want to make sure, depending on which way you're going to do your year-end, that you go through that checklist completely, whichever way. If you're going the normal, use the first one. If you're going through the alternative one, you use that one. So let me go ahead. Again, I want to jump back over there real quick because we want to go over that final step. So we're back into the GP again. So if we go under payroll, under utilities, we have the remove year-end information. So this window comes up. It automatically sees that I have 2017 in there. I would click on the 2000 insert button and put that in, and then I'm going to tell it to process. So when I process that, it's going to remove that file, and it's no longer going to exist, and you're ready to do payroll. Make sure you do your tax updates in there before you do. So it does give you a warning here if you're sure you want to remove it, and I'm going to tell it to go ahead and remove that file. So now I'm ready to go, and I'm going to do my tax updates. I already showed you that, and I'll be ready to run my payroll again.
Okay, we do have a question.
Sure.
Greg asks, if I perform the automatic payroll tax update, how do I know it will update to the latest 2014 tax file, or might it update to the 2015 tax table?
So the tax table actually goes in, you have one tax table in the system, and that's held in a table in SQL. So then what happens is when you're updating, you're automatically updating that tax table. So if you do that update, it automatically takes the 2014 and replaces it with the 2015. If you want to double check that you've ran that, then you can go in and look for that. If I go to Microsoft Dynamics GP, and it's probably on my screen, but I'm kind of old school and used to still going the long way. So I'm going this path. And I can go back to that path if you wanted to grab that. And then it tells you right here, your last tax updates are in here. And I didn't actually do the tax update for mine, so mine is still showing that I haven't done it since 2014. Again, we're in sample company. And I'll be honest, I'm with Columbus Global, and I'm kind of new with them, so I got to find out my authorization number to update my tax tables. So that's how you would know if you've done it or not. You guys have been a quiet group today. Do we have any more questions? Usually, we make sure we have a lot of time for those.
One more question here. When will the tax update be available?
I'm pretty sure the tax updates are already out there. From my understanding, the email that I got is the tax tables are out there. Let me see. If I go to home on mine, I think this is connected. I didn't know if I had. If you, under your home page, if you have it set up that you get information, let me go in here real quick. Customize this page. And I do the connect one and tell it okay. It's running a little slow here. I'll be patient. And I'll do my refresh. A lot of times through that connect is what I'm trying to show you. A lot of times GP puts it to where it shows up in there. depending on if you have access to that and access to the internet, and if your IT structure allows you to have that access, different things like that. But that is one way to go and check. You also can go out to Microsoft Dynamics GP customer source and go into customer source, and you'll be able to see it then too. So let me see if I can refresh that. Yeah, I don't know if I am on site. I apologize, and their internet is restricted here. So that's, again, that's the IT side that'll do that. Any other questions?
No other questions at this point.
Okay, so we have lots of time left. Is there anything that you guys would like to go back through? I'll be glad to go back through.
So here's one more question. What is the timetable for W-2 tax support for GP 2010? Now, how soon do we need to move up to GP 2013 or 2015?
Honestly, I don't know if they've published that yet on if 2010. I think it's relatively soon. I think this is if I'm not mistaken, this is the last year, I think, for 2010, because they just released 2015. So I'm not for sure how long that's going to be supported for. GP usually puts out a notification when it's going to be that it's not going to be supported, especially for payroll people. So again, that would be something that you'd want to check with your partner. And if you are on the line today and you are a Columbus Global customer, you can also email support@columbusglobal.com, and then they can get you connected to make sure that information gets to you.
All right, and another follow-up question here. Step one, I think in the last part that you were showing, said to verify that you have installed the latest 2014 payroll tax update. If you have not, would I need to do anything before installing the 2015 tax update? I should be able to use the automatic tax update, and it will update to the latest 2014 tax update.
So the latest tax update, it'll go out there and grab whatever's available, whatever the latest one is. So you have to make sure that 2014 payroll is done and everything is posted. And then you can check for your updates, and then if you haven't brought through, then you want to go out and do that after that last payroll run for the year is done.
All right. Another question, do we have to remove the year-end file?
I always do. I think that a lot of people put that and archive it, and then that way they have it, because that, you set that path where that file is, and then you can take that file and put it back. Once everything's through with GP, there isn't really any reason to keep it that I can think of, but a lot of people do keep a copy of it out on their server somewhere so it's backed up.
All right. Is it? And we have a comment in here that it is the last year for the 2010 payroll update.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I thought that I had seen that. So yeah, 2015 just came out, everyone. So it'll be interesting. I'm getting excited to be able to load that and see how 2015 is going to be different from 2013.
So one person asks, were there any earlier comments regarding ACA features in GP 2013 R2? I still have 2010 clients, but with less than 50 employees. I think I still have GP 2010 clients, but they have less than 50 employees.
They have less than 50 employees?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are they asking if they can do the electronic wage file because they're less than?
Good question. And if the person who asked about that ACA question wants to follow up, that would be great. We can move on to another one.
So, if that is the case, if you go into that website that comes up here, Oh, boy, I removed my year end. I had it in there earlier. That is the Social Security. If you go to the Social Security Department and the rules on that, that's where you'd want to check. I haven't been out there lately, so I don't know what the ruling is on that, if it makes a difference. I know there used to be a limitation if you were over so many employees that you had to file electronically, but I don't know the rulings for if you're under that limit. If you're under 50, I don't know that ruling, so you want to check with them.
Don asks, can you cover again the purpose of removing year-end information? What does that specifically do for historical information?
The wage file, that's just something that you go through. Well, it depends. I guess I have to say, if you are done with 2014 and you want to remove your year-end wage file, I think that it'll be out there for a year, and then next year you would have to, it'll say you've got an old one that has to be removed. Now, with the newer versions, I'd have to see if that's still true. But the reason why people remove the year-end file when they're done is because they still want things dated for 2014. So they want that payroll dated for 2014, but the check date is in 2015. So that's that one that crosses over. If you really want those dated for 2014 and you're going to process them in the year of 2014 and the check dated 2015, it will stop you if you don't remove that file. Now, if you're going to have everything dated 2015, you're not going to go back to any transactions that are dated in 2014. It wouldn't hurt for that file to be out there for that year. And we would have to check with that on the new versions if that makes any difference in 2010.
All right. Richard asks, for the tax update, does it apply to all companies, or do you have to do it company by company?
Oh, you just have to do it once.
All right.
Because that is in the system. It isn't per company. So we go in to see if we notice we're under system. So when you're under anything that's dealing with the system, that's usually company. That's all companies. You just have to do that once. Anything else?
Yep. Why do we need to remove the year-end information?
If you have to remove it if you are going to keep your system date for 2014, and because you want to record transactions in 2014, but you're going to end up accruing them with a check date of 2015. The system will not allow you to process payroll if you have your date set in 2014 unless you remove the file. And that's the reason why DP gives you the alternative. If you are not ready to complete the year-end process completely, that's where they tell you that you can go through everything. It takes you step by step. And then the one thing it tells you is that you do have to be, your system date has to be in 2015 in order to process it without removing that year-end wage file.
All right. So for anyone who may be joining a little late, please do know that we are recording today's session. We'll be making that available after we close out today. And that will be available on msdynamicsworld.com under the webcast section, and we'll also try to get a link out to everyone who registered today. Well, we can make another call for questions here. I don't have any more in the queue right now.
Okay.
And if that's the case, Kay, did you have anything else, or should we start wrapping up?
Well, yeah, I just want to kind of go back because everybody's, remember, and this is in the KB article under the year-end payroll, this is that alternative that I was talking about. So it tells you in here, if you want to process 2015 but you're not done, these are the instructions you have to follow. And if you see that you've got to have your process payroll pay runs, the user date must occur in 2015. So that's the reason why people remove that file. If they want things 2014. So if you don't want to remove the file and you need to process, then you've got to follow these steps. If you're going to be able to do it normally, these are the first steps that you go through, and then you would go through your next payroll in 2015. So besides that, I really don't have anything else. Do we get any more last round questions?
Yeah, a couple more have come in here. We're going with ADP before year end. Do I still need to follow the year end procedures outlined here?
You're going to go with ADP before the year end. Are you
Right.
transferring the files to ADP with all the year-to-date balances?
Good question. If the person who asked that would like to just add in that detail in the Q&A, that would be great.
Yeah. So if ADP is going to do
the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Then you really, if at that point, then we should be able to. You won't be using GP Payroll anymore if you're going to be going fully through ADP. Then you really don't have anything that you have to do because ADP is going to be doing them for you before the year end. And if you're transferring all that year-to-date balances to them, they'll produce your W-2s for you.
All right. Another ACA question here in regard to the ACA skipping ahead to next year. Will we have the ability to create the 1094C and 1093C through GP?
That's going to be a good question. Those are going to be, I haven't gotten any information on that yet. So it'll be good to see how that goes through with Microsoft Dynamics GP. I would assume if these are forms that are required by the IRS, that they would be included in, but that I haven't seen any documentation as to when.
All right. I'm just looking for any final questions here. Oh, well, just to follow up on that ADP point there, even though ADP is processing the W-2s, do I still need to remove the year-end information?
There wouldn't be any need to because you're not going to be doing any more payroll, so you can leave it there.
And Greg asks, could you go through the alternate steps one more time? You keep discussing the year-end file removal. Isn't that just the W-2 report for the year?
Yeah, so the alternate, so if you're not ready to, what it does is you create your year-end wage file, and basically these are the steps that you're going to go through. So you're going through basically all the normal steps, except you get down here to version 8 if you notice that you have a verified W-2 and 1099 information. In this one, it's not saying that you have to print the W-2s like the other one does. So it tells you to go ahead and set up your fiscal periods for 2015. And then you install your tax updates. And then here, number 13 is the important one here. Process the 2015 pay run. The user date must be in 2015. So let's go back through here real quick for the sharing purposes. So I already deleted my year-end wage file, so it's not there. But this is where you want to change your date. So if I'm keeping that file there, then I have to change my date. In my case, because I'm in sample company, I would need to change my date to 2018. So November, December. So I'd have to be in 2018, has to be my date, before I could actually get through all of the payroll processing. And that includes the build checks. Mine, I have Winsoft on mine. Accrue and calculate checks. It will stop you if you don't have your date right. It'll say you cannot process payroll when you have a year-end wage file out there. And then that's kind of your catch, that you have to change your date so that then you can go through and process it.
All right. We don't have any more questions at this time.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate everybody joining today. I hope this has been helpful for you. So good luck at year end. If you need any help, let your partner know. And if you are with Columbus Global, then you can email us at support@columbusglobal.com.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Thanks so much, Kay, for your time today and answering so many questions. And,
No problem, and I'll send you these PowerPoint presentations too, Jason, so you can put that out there for them.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. This concludes the session. Have a great day.
Thank you.